Good morning. Welcome back to Hawk's Roost Book Nook. I am Becky Smith, and I've been away for a while, and I felt it was important to let you be aware of why I've been away. Now, this video has been inspired by another young lady who does junk journaling, Mrs. Coggs. I've noticed on her videos she shares her other passion, which is her gardens and her wildlife, and so it gave me the courage to give you an explanation why I've been away from my videos and my junk journaling for a while. I think my best passion, my most favorite passion is gardening. I am a summer person and I love summer. I put up with winter so I can have a fun, beautiful summer where I live. I live at 6,600 feet above sea level, so gardening can be a challenge, and when I get a chance to be out in the garden, I'm out there rather than in the house. So with your permission, I'm going to take you on a quick tour of why I've been absent and show you what my other passion is. I hope you enjoy this. If you're strictly into junk journals, I guess skip it, but otherwise, please enjoy my other passion, which is gardening. This is my garden. Welcome to my garden. My property line is from the shed over here to this bed that is on bricks. I have pieced together this garden with literally reused items. I've laid down some brick and made some special places for items as you enter the garden. I haven't gotten this perfected yet. It's still a work in progress. I'm really proud of this willow bed right here. I hope you can see it in the shadow and shade. My children came on Mother's Day and helped me start this willow bed. And it was really fun because I always wanted one. I'd seen some on videos and I wanted to create my own. So we put in rebar and we wove the willows in and out of the rebar and made this small bed. I need to add more to it, but if I wait another year, I'll just redo the whole batch of willows and I'll make it a little taller next time. I have red mustard in this bed. Going to the right, I have two varieties of radishes, and I am currently growing cilantro and kohlrabi. And then tucked in behind is some beans. Now, as you can see, if you water these willow beds, sometimes you get living trees out of them, so I plan to transplant those elsewhere. In my bed I have made out of railroad ties, I have garlic that was shared with me this spring from a neighbor, and there used to be radishes in front of it. And I had so much garlic, she gave me a half of a paper grocery bag full. And by the time I separated cloves, I had a 3-gallon pot. I filled a 3-gallon pot that you would get from a nursery. And so you're going to see garlic everywhere in my garden, but I figured this was a good experiment to see where the garlic liked to grow the best and where it got the largest. So if you're a fellow gardener, you understand we always are experimenting. I'm going to switch over to this side of the bed. It's a bit in shade, so I hope the lighting will be all right. In the back of this railroad tie bed, I have some red twig dogwoods, and then I put in my strawberries. And as you can see, I'm greatly anticipating and looking forward to my first strawberry. It's still white on the bottom. It's not quite there. But look at how large these strawberry plants are. They are only 2 years old. And there's the garlic popping out between. But they were just filled with blossoms this year. This cluster is not unusual in this bed. Now, the reason I attribute this to is I finally got, and we'll go over to the compost bin in a moment, I finally got a real compost pile to start, and I actually created my own compost. And last fall I had enough to cover this bed and add to the soil. And this year I have not had to fiddle with fertilizers or anything in this bed, and I cannot believe how beautiful my strawberries are. They are just amazing. So it's a real tribute to, if you can get a compost pile going, you will be blessed with bounty. This is an interesting garden, and I may tip this sideways so you can kind of see better what I'm talking about. Don't know which view is best. I've never done a garden tour, so you'll have to bear with me. This had strawberries in it, and they eventually died out. And I think I know why. What we're looking at with this bush right here is a golden currant bush. And it was just like a 2-inch start one year, about 4 years ago. And I meant to move it, never got it done. And then all of a sudden it was so big, and I think its roots have taken up this reused tractor tire. And so, long story short, the way it came to be in my garden was my grandson had been hiking with me in the mountains and found these, quote, black ball seeds. He poked it in without my knowledge, and voila, I have a beautiful currant bush. So that was a gift from a grandchild. Also in this bed, my grandchildren like to put up the fairy garden every year. And so it's kind of a mix of, well, weeds today. That's why I'm out here today on my day off, is to weed. My son-in-law etched me in rock this beautiful rock centerpiece for my garden, and a stray bachelor's button and some succulents that my daughter gave me, and muscari I have been letting just go to seed because I'm excited to encourage my muscari. Now we'll turn you back the other way and see if this is going to work at all. So around this bed we have what I call my 4x4 foot flyby gardens. Now when I developed this garden about 4 years ago, we had wonderful weather. I had 70 to 80 degrees in March, and that's unheard of at my elevation. But I got busy and I created what was called a flyby garden with a lot of these 4 foot by 4 foot square beds. And they're wonderful, and I put down some barriers. Let me say though, right up front, there is no such thing as a weed-free garden. You can control the weeds so you're able to keep up with them by building raised beds, but you will have weeds. That's just a fact of life and gardening. So in this bed, I have planted more garlic, some muscari. Believe it or not, these lettuce plants are volunteers from last year when I had lettuce growing fairly well in here. And then I do have some little snapdragons down here as well. And this bed is what I call my shed bed because it's up against my garden shed. We have Maltese Cross is the red. The purple spiky is my catmint that's just about ready to be trimmed to let grow again. I have Black Knight delphiniums getting ready to blossom. And then I'm so excited because over here I actually have a borage plant. I have wanted borage all my life, and I actually started it from seed in the house and brought it out, and it is growing. And these are cute little sunflowers right here. So this is the shed bed, and if we walk this way, underneath the bird cage there are a couple of hollyhock starts down there. I have irises that I was given, and then I have a cold hardy lavender, which I am so excited to see it come to fruition. It seems to like it in this bed. With this, I've done the same as the garlic. My friend that gave it to me encouraged me to plant it several places and see where it liked it the best. That way I could get to know where it would grow the best, and it seems to be doing very well. Now this little garden is really neat because all the rocks around it are made of rocks with fossils in them. And we took a family trip and we found these beautiful rocks, and they had fossils, and everyone said they were going to come get them, take them home. Well, nobody collected them 5 years later, so Mother made a garden bed out of them. Now let me just say, as a disclaimer, if you don't like grass poking up in between your rocks, don't do this, because It's part of what makes it so fun. But in here I have the garlic again. In the back I have a stray sunflower planted by a bird, I'm sure. I have 3 little cucumber plants. You can't hardly see them anymore. There's one right there. They got froze 3 times this year, bless their souls. And they're still trying to come back, and I'm not going to stifle them. I don't care if they don't produce. Those little things have been through heck and back, so I'm going to honor them by letting them grow. And I believe this plant right here should be a calendula flower, which I tried to get grow last year, and they grew and got to blossom with 2 blossoms, and it froze again. So such is the life of living in an elevation of 6,600 feet. Now this is my garden shed. We'll just take a quick peek inside. The only reason you're getting to see in here is I actually did get it organized this year. It was really fun because I got early. It's part of the reasons I abandoned you and came out into the garden. We had warm weather in April this year, and so I had a chance to organize my garden shed and make it so it made sense to me and it just wasn't piled up junk. Here is another reclaimed tractor tire bed. In it I have starts of these beautiful deep purple irises, orange tiger lilies, and a stray columbine here and there that happened to pop out. I have a feeling I need to separate my irises in here. They are blooming less and less each year, and I have heard and seen people say that what you need to do is you need to separate them. And then I planted them too deeply. I guess you lay their rhizomes up on the top of the ground so the sun can get to them. And as you can see, they're crowded, so even if they were on top. So that's probably a late fall project that I will do after the rush and flush of the harvest. This is my wilder part of my garden now. It's been unclaimed. This original garden we started in 1996. It was the length of the whole property, and it was done the old-fashioned wild, I mean not wild, but just long rows and wide spaces. And it was great when I was home, but as I went to work I was unable to keep up with the weeds. So then it became, quite a few years later, my flyby garden, and now I'm turning it back into something with a little more space and less small raised beds, because I need to get more production out of it. But I have placed the most beloved plant to me, which is my comfrey back here. It's beloved because it feeds my plants by making fertilizer. It is healthy for my body because it is an herb that can be used for healing. And my insects love it because it has such beautiful blossoms on it. And I guess they refill with, what do I want to say? What's the word? They refill with pollen quite quickly for the birds and the bees, for the bees to come and partake. And this is extra special to me because my neighbor who had passed away 9 years ago, these are starts from his property, and he's really kind of been an influence in my life as to getting this garden going. Back here we have taken a piece that we had laid some tarp over, and it laid there for 4 years, and so I really don't have weed pressure on it this year, but I've got to be on my toes next year because I'm sure the weed pressure is going to come back. But I have garlic again, red potatoes, Yukon Gold potatoes to the left. To the left of that is some squash and cucumbers. I have an empty bed, and then I put in some more cucumbers in the far part of it. And I have hilled up my potatoes with straw. Hello, Thomas. This is one of my, I call them my garden managers. They're out here. Oh, wouldn't you just choose to do that right now? Bless your heart. I have 4 cats, and this is Thomas, and he is with me constantly in the garden. They love it when I'm out here in the summertime. Winter's a bit harder for them, and we think we have a solution for that this coming winter, and I'll speak about that in part 2. But anyway, so I'm going to pan over to probably the ugliest part of my garden, and I'm just going to be frank and honest. It's a work in progress. It was at one time cultivated, and every year I'm just going to take a space similar to what I've done here, about this same size, and I'm going to do the flattened traditional method in small squares like this, so that I can keep up with the weeds and I can clear out all these weeds and create more garden space in my garden. Now I'm going to swing around and we'll go over here to the compost pile. And I would encourage you, don't give up on your compost. This is something that I tried for years, and when I finally got down the right increments and the right proportions for compost, this is the compost this year, and I've been putting animal poop in it, along with some brown grasses, green grasses, shredded paper, and then I had straw bale garden for a little while, and that did okay. And then as the straw bales rotted, you can see some of them sitting over here, I just piled them up next to it, and as they rot down more, they bring a lot of those bacterium into your compost pile. And I think that's one of the secrets of my composting, is having those bacteria ready to go. That, and last year I did add 20,000 red compost worms, and I think that was such a success. Now, some of them did winter over. They said they probably wouldn't, but some did, so I didn't purchase any this year. And I'm hoping they're crossbreeding with my beautiful earthworms and making some powerful compost eaters. Now, as you can see, I have gone back to work, so I have to work with these grasses. But this is my compost pile. And if we were to dig down in that, it would be dark and rich, and it would smell so good. Now, some of it still hasn't broken down, but this is the stage that I put it on the strawberry bed last year, and oh, you saw what it did. It was gorgeous. So don't give up on your compost piles. Keep trying. You can always figure it out what's happening. It just takes some time and patience, and that's just gardening. This is horseradish. My dear neighbor gave me 9 years ago. Well, more than 9 years ago, and I've been blessed with not only this patch, but 2 other volunteer patches. So look out when you get a hold of horseradish. But there's nothing like homemade horseradish made in October. It extends your garden season and your harvesting season, and it's just fun to do. So then we'll get to my greenhouse, and this greenhouse has had quite a journey. It was originally built 3 or 4 years ago. The snow crushed it because I didn't understand that I can't leave this type of a greenhouse up. Then my son and son-in-law and daughter came over this spring, and they helped me rebuild, put it back together, and I was given some reclaimed bricks, a whole pallet of them, and my husband just mutter grumbled, "You'll never do anything with that." Well, the pallet's empty in between the 2 entrances, and finally I have a brick walkway in my greenhouse. Now, I didn't have access to some thick plastic to put down, so I put cardboard down. And let me just say, something to expect when you put cardboard under your beds is the fact that you will draw ants. I will pull these bricks up next spring, little by little. And if you can see this black tarping back here underneath my heater, because yes, I did have to put a small heater in this. We had snow in June. That's life at 66,000 square feet. But that black liner right there will go under these bricks, and I won't have the grasses coming up and the thistle. Now, I have to tell a story on this thistle. It's really ticked off that I took over this side of the greenhouse, because it was 5 feet or taller in my greenhouse, and I shut it out, and it's found ways to get in, and I just keep on top of it, and I keep pulling it and keep telling it, I don't think so. It has gone elsewhere in my garden, but you know, thistle's just like a good old-fashioned enemy. You just need somebody to not like sometimes, and Mr. Thistle is mine. However, I've learned that thistles are edible, so I will exact my revenge someday when I need to eat thistle to survive. These are my beautiful peppers. I've strung a soaker hose through them. The cups are ways of labeling where the seed are from, what seed company I got them from, and what seed they are. And I am already starting to see these little tiny peppers on my pepper plant. And I am so excited. You see the holes in those. I had a rash of baby grasshoppers come through and eat my peppers. But you talk about a story of resilience. Look how these peppers have come back. I have been amazed at them, and I am so excited to reap their harvest. I didn't have room for every one of my tomatoes. I had 52 tomato plants. Actually, take and germination rate was 100% this year. I was able to bless 20 people with free tomato plants, and I put these in my buckets. They aren't the best buckets, but they're what I had for this year. And I am trialing a bunch of favorite seeds between smoky and sweet, less acidic, all that good stuff. And so I'll retrieve what I like, take notes, and then I will decide which ones I like. And I thought I saw, as we did opening shots coming in here, I thought I saw a small tomato, but maybe not. Back here in the cinder block bed, this was a bed that was originally made with my greenhouse. I have mixed perennials and tomato plants in here because I just didn't have the heart or the place to put the perennials. This is a flax flower plant. This is a wallflower plant. These are some irises, free irises from a seed company, more tomatoes, and these are crookneck squash. And the young lady that's taking over my video is Mia. She's my other garden manager, and she loves to be with me in the garden. So these are growing well. I just hope they're getting pollinated. I haven't seen a fruit come yet, so they may not be getting pollinated. I may have to hand pollinate that. So that is the greenhouse. We'll walk out here and get a little bit more of the garden, and then we will shut this video down so you don't get bored. This is my bachelor button, chive, and down in here there is some of that lavender, and it's not doing as well. I think it's being shaded out by the bachelor's buttons. It'll probably get moved this fall. Over here is a whole bed, 4x4, full of garlic and some daylilies that I decided to save. So that is just about the end of the garden. Here is the other horseradish starts that started by themselves, and here's my beloved hollyhocks. I really love them, and they grew very tall stems this year, and I didn't experiment with them. This is another of my comfrey plants. You can see the beautiful blossoms there. So when the stalks came up tall, I laid them over flat towards this direction, and I dug a trench, and I covered them with soil. And when I didn't see anything come up, I thought, dang it, I just can't get a hollyhock to grow. And other people say how easy they are to grow. Well, it took a while to get them up, but I think I'm going to have a plethora of hollyhocks, which just suits me fine. I love the hollyhock. It is an old-fashioned plant that I truly, dearly love. And so I'm very pleased to have that in my garden and maybe put it other places as well. So that is the tour of my garden. I appreciate your time and patience. I hope this video hasn't been too long, and I hope you've enjoyed viewing this with me, going through my garden. And I do truly apologize for abandoning you, but I could not take advantage of the beautiful weather in my area and get my garden growing again, because I have been out of work a little bit. I've been working part-time from home because of the COVID. We did not open our facility. I work at the National Oregon California Trail Center on 89 and 30, and we were not able to fully open until the 1st of July. So it was a blessing to be able to be in my garden. I don't think this garden's had this much tender loving care in a long time, and if you see weeds now, it's because we've been back to work for quite a bit, and so I am part-time gardening and trying to do the flyby. In part 2, I will show you the other reason I have been absent, and I hope it melts your heart and helps you understand. But I will get back to my journal videos, but I hope you're not offended, but I'm going to include some videos about the garden and videos about my other project I have going on, the joys in my life, as well as my junk journaling. So thank you so much for your time and your patience. Thank you for watching. Those of you that have subscribed, life is going to get better. It might be once every week or once every 2 weeks, but we will continue to make videos now that the garden is at the point where it can just run on its own and I just need to weed. So have an awesome week. Have a great day. Remember, keep your chin up, and life is always good. There's always beauty in every situation. It's a matter of finding it and looking for it. Thanks again. Happy trails.